Of the Westford Conservation Commission on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. The first item on the agenda is open forum. Do any members of the commission have topics? Marilyn?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring you up to date on the fact that I went before the Finance Committee because they reviewed the warrant articles and they approved all of the CPA recommendations.
Excellent.
Going forward, so that's good.
Good.
And I will go to the select board next week, I think it is, and do the same thing.
Okay. Matt, do you have anything?
The commission's next meeting will be March 22nd, so 4 weeks.
Oh, I won't miss anything.
Excellent.
Why was that?
The
Holy or holy?
Holy, I don't know. It's a
It's a holiday?
It's a holiday.
Okay,
on
okay,
the
got it.
8th.
Good,
Outstanding.
I'm really glad I don't miss anything. Okay, good, because I'm away.
Do any members of the audience have something they'd like to bring up in open forum? Okay. Okay, I think you were just waving, right?
Yes,
Okay. Moving on to our other 7 PM agenda item, public hearing for the Westford Highway Department.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul Starrett, Town Engineer.
Now you got to read the notice.
Read it first.
Okay.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023, in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent applications of the Westford Department of Public Works at 7 p.m. for work within jurisdictional wetlands and associated 100-foot and 200-foot buffer zones to replace the existing culvert where Blue Brook crosses under Groton Road near the intersection with Flushing Pond Road. At 7:10 p.m. for work with jurisdictional wetlands and associated 100-foot and 200-foot buffer zones to replace the existing culvert and install curbs and catch basins where Pond Brook crosses under Lowell Road near the intersection of South Chelmsford Road.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm spoiled by the planning board who always waves their readings. So. Paul Starrett, Town Engineer, on behalf of Steve Cronin, our Director of Public Works, who I'm sorry to report is hurriedly, busily getting ready for some weather events and wasn't able to be here himself tonight. I would like to point out very importantly that the 2 culverts you're about to hear about, culvert replacement projects, represent a new paradigm for the way that we're doing business in the Department of Public Works as a result of the new enterprise fund, the Stormwater Enterprise Fund. We have a new funding source for doing projects like this, and we can do these now proactively instead of reactively. Past practice, unfortunately, because of constraints out of our control, we would have a culvert fail. We'd go out with an emergency order and do the repairs, but those days, I'm happy to say, are going to be in our rearview mirror very soon, because we've done a culvert assessment study town-wide with our partners at Ty and Bond. We've come up with a list and prioritize that list, and we are working on in pairs now just to get a head start on these 2. We'll have 2 more coming up in the next fiscal year that we plan to replace. The importance of that is that the old method didn't serve anyone well, certainly not the Conservation Commission, and we didn't get the better products and the better results that we could by planning and preparing for that in advance. So having said that, I'm happy to introduce our design team tonight, Megan and Eric from Ty and Bond. I'll let them do their last names if they want. They're gonna be presenting on behalf of the town the 2 projects, starting with Blue Brooks.
Hi, I'm Megan Wojcik. I'm the environmental scientist that went out and delineated the resources within this area. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, and I'm Eric Ohanian. I'm a project manager for both project sites.
So basically this project is, as Paul was saying, is the replacement of the culvert within Blue Brook at Groton Road. I delineated the wetlands on December 17th, 2021. We found 2 bordering vegetated wetlands on the south side of the road. And as you can see up on the projector here, I have highlighted all the different areas. So the blue is the banks of Blue Brook. The green down here and over here is the bordering vegetated wetland. And then from there, we just have the buffer zones that are enforced by the Wetlands Protection Act, which is the 100-foot buffer zone here, which is the light green, the 200-foot riverfront area, which is the blue line out here, and then we also included your local 30-foot no disturb zone with this red line.
So the primary intent of the project is to replace the culvert and make improvements based on durability of the culvert, and then also the head wall to the north, on the upstream side. So we could talk about more specifics of the details if you have questions on the specific design.
Any members of the commission have
So when do you plan on starting the work?
I believe the plan is to advertise for bidding in April, and then after the contractor has adequate time to provide submittals on their materials and submit their plans for approval, we would be looking at construction towards mid to late summer this year.
Okay. How long do you anticipate the project, taking place before it's finalized?
With final completion in the 3-month range.
Okay. So whatever you need to do to open it up, you're closing it up that night, or, as you're going through, doing the culvert work?
Yeah, well, this is a fairly busy road, so we're gonna
Close the
try
road.
and maintain 1 lane of alternating traffic and build the culvert in stages. So the quicker the contractor can get in and out, the better. But I mean, obviously there's challenges with that because we'll be monitoring the backfill conditions and making sure that everything is built according to the Mass DOT standard specifications.
So what month would you be starting? Later summer, okay, so I'm just thinking about weather, okay.
Yeah, no, I should be fine there. And this is precast?
This is precast concrete, yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Any impact to trees in your project area or the staging area? None at all?
Nope.
Okay. And I noticed in the picture you showed that the decrepit head wall is all nice big blocks of granite. Where are all those going? The bottom picture there, I think.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, Paul Starrett, Town Engineer, we will work with the contractor to determine if they have placed a salvage value on their bid, or we will recover them ourselves for storage at the
So
highway
the intent is
facility.
it's gonna be a concrete,
Yes.
100%.
And I should also point out on the traffic part of it, we partner with the Westford Police Department.
figured as much,
And
yeah.
Public Safety, it does have the final say on how they feel traffic operations are going, so they may detour, they may not, we certainly hope not on this section.
Okay,
That's it.
I'm good.
Matt, do you have any?
Comments were received from Mass DEP, and the project team provided a response. I thought it was sufficient. I'd still, just in terms of process, I went out to the site and, the wetland flag certainly looked good, and certainly a need to being proactive in replacing these culverts is important, so we're not reactionary to them.
Yep.
That's all I have for that.
Okay. Do any members of the audience have comments or questions on the replacement of the Blue Brook culvert? Okay. You also set out a draft order.
Yes, I provided draft special conditions for the commission's consideration. I also, CR also provided them to the project team. Again, I whereas there were DEP comments, and I don't want to, allow some time for them to review the response and provide additional if,
So you want to keep it open?
and so, you're right, yeah, but
Yeah.
if the commission would like to discuss the special conditions, we can certainly,
I'd like to see them.
you know, have them kind of pre-reviewed for the next meeting, and, you know, if there's any further comment, you know, address it then.
Any
I really
comments?
didn't have any
Nope.
comments.
The only one that I had was that because there are going to be catch basins, the condition that we usually have for making sure that stuff is removed at the end of the project work so that we don't, the capacity of the sump, the catch basin sump
Isn't compromised?
isn't compromised. And I think, did that get included in the?
It didn't get included in the original, in the current one. But, yeah, you've requested a special condition that, to cover, protection of infiltration BMPs, you know, just at the end of.
And it will be similar to the condition 31 in the Pond Brook order of conditions, so it just, you know, they're very similar, have the same conditions. Okay, so we'll continue this to our our March 22nd meeting?
Yes.
Okay, motion to continue to March 22nd?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this is continued to March 22nd. Okay, and then we can move on to the Pond Brook Road culvert.
Yeah.
No, the Pond Brook culvert.
Right. So you've got to read the legal
She already
notice.
did. It was
It's a double.
Or
Is it two
both?
for
Oh,
one?
great.
Okay, so we do have a site plan for that one as well. Again, it's a culvert that's being replaced. This culvert that they're going to be replacing it with is going to be significantly bigger, which will be better for the habitat of the stream. Again, I delineated the wetlands out here in December of 2021, and I highlighted all of the resource areas on here. So the yellow line is the limit of work, by the way. I forgot to mention that was the last one. But on this one, there are bordering vegetated wetlands on either side of the bank, on both sides of the road, which is highlighted like in the thin green line here. The banks are the blue thin line. And then this is also within bordering land subject to flooding, so that's on here as well in the pink line. It kind of runs parallel to the bordering vegetated wetland here and here. And again, 30-foot no disturb zone, 100-foot buffer zone, and then the riverfront area is not visible because it's too far out for, yeah, it's just, there's one line here, but. And then there is an area of wetland impact that will be mitigated, and that's provided for in this drawing in this little green box here. It's approximately 160 square feet, but they're going to try to make the impact as small as possible when they're putting it in. The only reason why that's happening is because the wing wall in the southeast corner here is just going to take up some space in the wetland, so they're going to make up for that. But again, they're going to try to minimize as much as possible the impact that wing wall will have.
So you're doing the replication area there in the green.
Yep, so it's in the same wetland.
Sometimes when we see replication areas, you know, folks actually have to, you know, remove valuable buffer material, trees or whatever to, you know, recreate that resource area, that wetland area. What's that area like right now that you're looking to use for wetlands restoration?
So right now, that area, it's like a short, steep slope going up to the rest of the surrounding grade, which is upland. There's some vines and some, I think, Japanese knotweed along that area. It's very minimal space. It's like maybe 10 feet wide by 12 feet long, so it's not much. It's very, very
So
small.
it's not like you're cutting down a bunch of trees to put in a detention.
It's so
yeah, all right,
small, yeah.
Okay,
And
fine.
they are gonna install native shrubs in the area afterwards to make up for any vegetation cutting that they have to do.
There are a few trees taken down in this one, right?
Yes.
Okay. And is that replication area gonna have trees in it at all, or is it,
No, we have just the native shrubs planned for that one.
what are the plans for trees, anything?
I think that's going to be discussed at that hearing, right?
Yeah,
There's a separate hearing.
How many there are, I saw a couple at least.
Yeah, and I don't have that number on the top of my head, Jim, Paul Starrett, town engineer, but the director is going to hold a public shade tree hearing for this project, in particular because of the tree removal that's, believe nominal, but.
Yeah, it only looks like a couple. Like,
Right,
There's a few for protection, and then there's a couple remove and dispose. I mean, I'd like to see replacements.
So maybe a couple of trees in that area that they're gonna replant?
They could put them in the replication, they could put them outside of that area, that's fine. So, one for one? There's only-
Well, that's what we
there's only like-
typically do, when we
Yeah, there's only
take a
couple.
tree, we down, we put one up.
Okay, Jim, you all set?
Yep.
Matt, did you have anything?
As I forgot to mention, the previous one, this is a limited project under 10.53, so alterations may be permitted. Conversion of resource areas may be permitted. And what was the time frame for potentially doing this project, and also kind of the duration?
This one has a similar time frame, because we are putting in a larger structure. The excavation and the groundwork will most likely take more time than at Blue Brook. But we are anticipating a full road closure at this site, and as part of that, we're including temporary measures for critter crossings in a highly sensitive area on part of the detour route. But I believe the intent is to have a similar time frame as the Blue Brook culvert site.
When this goes out to bid, if the same contractor
Road is closed.
is awarded both bids, would you be looking for the projects to be done in parallel or sequential?
So, Paul Starrett, town engineer, we have not determined yet how we're going to bid this, whether we're going to bid them together. But we are always conscious, just because of our own workforce and that of the police department in combination with ongoing projects that we have in town. So we're sensitive about having those scheduled, and we will have control of the work, so they won't be going on simultaneously if we can prevent that, for the reasons I've just mentioned. But we haven't yet determined whether we're gonna do a single bid package or whether we're gonna break them out and separate them.
And what,
We will control the work.
Paul, was that old Lowell Road that you're thinking of
Yes.
closing?
Yeah,
For
right.
how long?
That one, it will be a closure because as you can imagine, with a closure, we can work faster. Staggering traffic slows the project to a crawl.
How do you reroute,
But
how do you reroute that traffic?
yes, we have a detour that's been
Okay.
established. And again, public safety does have the final word on detours and detour routes. But this is what we've proposed. But we work closely with the police department, and
How long a project?
this one is, the actual shutdown will be smaller in length.
I would say in the 2 to 3 month range.
Yeah.
2 to 3 months.
Right, but we, of course, will have both incentives and disincentives built into the contract, as we do with others. As you recall, we've done several Groton Road culverts, one under 19 days. A little different, it was isolated from residents, so we could work longer hours. But as we get closer to a construction date, we always reach out to our abutters and residents in the area of the project to make sure that they're a partner to what we're doing. And if they're amenable to longer hours, that makes it a shorter project. But if they would not, we'll stay within the work bounds that we have.
So it's possible that both projects might not get completed in this calendar year. if, depending on the time to bid and then the time to work.
Yeah, that'd be unacceptable to both be in my boss and my boss's boss. So, no, we have to have these done.
Okay, yeah, because our concern would be, you know, working in the summer, working in the fall is great. You know, trying to do this work in the winter,
Yeah, I think
that's
it's-
where
I
we
think
start.
it's- I think
That's
a
where we
school
start to have
buses-
Yeah, this, we are certainly gonna avoid that.
Okay,
It's gonna be a big
Jim?
disruption.
This is in the vicinity of the 4-H grounds.
Correct.
And August
Where I go all
is
the
a
time.
busy time right in this area. There's a parking area just adjacent to the intersection with South Chelmsford Road and where your
Have a school.
project's gonna be. Is that planned for any laydown area or?
Yeah, again, no, not without their participation.
Okay,
But we will, we are certainly gonna work with 4-H. They've been
Their
a great
fair is-
partner and
fair
on.
is August 31st.
Yeah, August 31st. So we'll work with them on the details of scheduling to make sure, and they,
Most of their traffic is gonna probably traverse South Chelmsford Road and 110, not the smaller roads,
correct.
so, okay, good.
And we don't anticipate needing to stage there. One of the benefits of a closure is that you can stage in the road, so there won't be,
You have a school
won't be an
and you have a
opportunity
business.
there.
Thank you.
I had a question about the signage for the wildlife in the little back roads here. These back roads are basically just used for residents. There's not a lot of traffic in these areas. And I currently have construction going on in my neck of the woods where there's signs, but people are still flying by. So maybe, could you possibly think of like temporary speed bumps on those roads instead of, I mean, the signs are great, but I mean, you know, people detouring and busy and ready to go to work, I think that a speed bump might work better than a sign.
So that, Noel, is part of a bigger conversation that is currently ongoing in the town with the Pedestrian Safety Committee and our road commissioners, the select board. So I wouldn't be able to commit to that without their authorization. The police and fire also have had some input on the subject. They're reluctant to participate in those at this time, but you know, we can look into that with the select board if it's going to be conditioned. I can't make that decision myself, though. It is a topic of discussion across the town. I can tell you that. As recently as last Wednesday with the Pedestrian Safety Committee, and again at their next meeting, they're talking about implementing those.
25 million hours.
Yeah, it comes down to, and not to turn the Conservation Commission into a road commission meeting, but it comes down to the attempts to change human behavior, and there are signs and speed bumps and police sitting on the side of the road. These are all attempts to change human behavior, and no one's wrestled that to the ground yet. We haven't found an effective way to change human behavior.
Do you members of the audience have any comments or questions for the culvert? Please come up and tell us who you are.
Charlie McCullough, 18 Volks Road, O'Brien Farm, and I'm here as the unofficial representative of the World of the Critters. And as a lot of you are aware, the wildlife corridor goes through our property, so we're quite sensitive to it, and we have a pretty good amount of traffic. I'm encouraged by what I've heard because it seems to be a professional approach. We do have a culvert. When ours was put in, and it's been modified a couple of times because of the beavers, the primary focus was water flow, and it had a negative impact. So my purpose of being here is to ask that we focus very much on the level of the base of the culvert so that it matches the low water flow so that the critters can come through the culvert and up. And like the one we have is about 3 hours, 3 inch drop. which means the critters are up over the road, and obviously there's a lot of negative impact when they're over the road. Consequently, on the other side, and the town did try to address that, but we had a little communication breakdown a few years ago, the culvert was raised up the base so that it flooded the area. So area that was one point cultivated, and the brook was within its banks, except for the spring runoff, is now all flooded. So my main point is the importance of the base of the culvert for obvious reasons. Oh, and just an FYI, that area that you're talking about it was always referred to as Cowdery Corner. So to me, that's Cowdery Corner's culvert. But that's, I'm dating myself on that. Thank you.
So there were draft order of conditions. You've had a chance to review them. Any questions?
Based on the initial review, everything seemed extremely reasonable, and we plan on incorporating those into the construction requirements.
Okay, and we're,
Including what Charlie just said. Including what Charlie just said.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to see that in the order of conditions, if that's
Yeah, we can
anything,
make a
anything we
finding.
can at least ask for.
Yeah,
So we go on
I think,
public
you know,
record.
I think including that as a find it and incorporating some of the response to DEP and, you know, the stream crossing standards, I think including that as a finding for the commission to make, and, you know,
For us to
and
request.
subsequently put it in as a special condition so that there is some teeth to, you know,
If the
if,
bottom of the
Yeah.
culvert meets pre-existing condition?
To the
So-
best of your
So the bottom of
ability.
the culvert, yeah, it's embedded with 2 feet of native material, so it is meant to match the grade of the existing stream bed, specifically to accommodate wildlife.
I wonder if we should have a letter from Charlie specifically saying what he's referring to, so that you can refer to that. Charlie? Maybe a letter, as opposed to just the conversation we had here.
A letter from me?
Yes, to share what you just shared here.
Okay, no
So
problem.
we can be sure that it's built into the best of the,
It's partly written, no problem.
okay,
okay,
okay.
so continue this one also to March 22nd, in case there's any further comments?
Comment from the department?
yes, and also allow me the opportunity to incorporate.
So we'll continue it till then?
Yeah, okay. So motion to continue the public hearing to March 22nd.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item, a proposed Eagle Scout project on the Tom Hall Trail.
Yep, I'll have it up.
You'd like to
Have a
tell
seat.
us?
If you
You
sit
want-
down,
You're welcome
the
to
mic will
sit.
pick it up better.
And you can, the remote also, the orange button will, if you wanna, at any
You want to
point in
use a
time-
laser pointer?
The orange one?
Yeah, that's the laser pointer. So, okay.
Cool.
Alright, so good evening, everybody. My name is AJ Sageman. I'm a Boy Scout with Troop 195 here in Westford, and I'm here to present my proposal for an Eagle project at Tom Paul Trail. So just an overview. So this is a map of Tom Paul Trail. So there's 2 bridges at this trail that are in disrepair. The one circled right in the middle. These bridges are insufficient for the stream crossings. So my project is going to be to replace these bridges with sturdier and safer alternatives. So this is the first bridge. As you can see here, it's not a very good bridge. It's 4 pieces of wood just put on the stream crossing. So it's really hard to navigate, really hard to get over, especially when there's a high water condition, such as in this. Is there?
Yeah. Just point it up.
It's the orange button
Oh,
on the
you gotta
top.
hold it. Okay, so
Yeah,
especially in
there you
this photo right here, the bridge actually acts like a dam, blocking all water flow, which means that the water right here comes outside, which erodes the stream bed. So obviously that needs to be replaced with a better alternative as to not further harm the environment. So this is the second bridge. So this bridge is also far too narrow. It's only 2 feet wide, so that means only one person can go across it at a time. It's also quite short, so I'd also like to replace this one with a better bridge. Additionally, it's not secured at all. Like when we went there a couple months ago, we could just pick the bridge up and it just literally came up. So a more secured bridge would be much better.
Would you have railings or just the way it
Yes,
is?
so I'll get into the design of the bridge. So these are 2 examples of bridges that have been made in Westford by Eagle Scouts in my troop. So this one on the left right here, that one is from Kloppenburg Trail, and the one on the right is from the Abbots Trail. So these bridges both use very similar designs to what I'm going to be using for my own project. So they've been approved by the commission in the past, so it's the same principal designs. So here's a more detailed plan of what I'm going to use. So these bridges are going to be 12 feet long and 4 feet wide. They will include the railings, and there's going to be so these designs were made by an engineer, so they're very good designs. They've been used in the past, and they will stand up to the conditions on the trail. And so here's a sketch that I made of how the bridges are actually going to cover the streams. So as you could see in the previous slides, the bridges kind of like went up to the edge or didn't cover the entire stream. These will go beyond the stream. It'll make a nice crossing, so it'll be easy to cross. So how will this help the trail? So the current bridges at the trail are very difficult to use, but these new bridges are going to greatly improve this section of the trail. The trail is going to be more accessible and safer, and when I went to go visit the trail, I saw a bunch of people walking on it, so it's obviously a very well-used trail, so this will benefit a lot of people.
How are you going to secure them, the bridge itself?
So if you go back to the previous...
Yeah, what was
So,
that?
so there's a concrete bricks which are going to be put into the ground, and the posts are going to be put in the bricks and put concrete.
Okay,
In the,
that answers my question, thank you.
so time frame, I'm planning to start work in like April-ish and finish sometime in mid-June. And worst case, I can push it back to, worst case, it'll go to like July, but I should be able to finish in June.
Okay. What have you gotten for funding?
Yeah, so right here, so as far as the budget goes, the material costs, things such as the lumber and the hardware, it's going to be about $1,000. Now, any other costs, such as refreshments, food, and disposable supplies, are going to be about $300. So I'm going to be doing some fundraising, but if you have any donations or funds, that'd be greatly appreciated.
We usually,
Yeah, our usual practice is
$250.
when you've done your fundraising with different organizations, and if you find that you
Sure.
need additional funds, you come back and see us, and
We'll see if we can help you out.
yeah, we usually do.
And we usually can.
Yes.
We usually do. We have a limit, but we do,
So here's some other information. So this land is on the jurisdiction of 3 groups. The Westford Conservation Trust, I met with them last week and they voted to approve this project. The Westford Conservation Commission, which is you guys, and the landowners, which are Blanchard Farms, I'm going to be coming into contact with them and getting approval.
Okay. So, can I have a motion?
I'm happy
Yeah,
to make.
so the
yeah,
project
sorry.
is subject, some other,
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to say
some
something
other
else?
Yeah,
Slides.
so as I'm
Okay, sorry.
conducting this project, I'm going to make sure to not, damage or otherwise alter the environment. And all waste that's going to be produced will be properly disposed of, and the area will not be disturbed or altered beyond anything necessary, such as the installation of the bridge.
Okay,
So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So this is also subject, a notice of intent will need to be filed for the construction of these 2 bridges on this property. This was a first step to get approval for the concept of the project to file with the Scout Board, Eagle Review Board. The Commission and the Westford Conservation Trust are co-holders of the conservation restriction of the Blanchard Farms property. So the Blanchard Farms is the property owner. The
that was my
Commission and the Conservation Trust are co-holders of the CR. So that's their role.
AJ, do you understand the relationship between
Yeah.
those 3 organizations? And one is the owner, but 2 are responsible for managing and maintaining the conservation restriction.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there will be notice of intent coming for your guys'
Shortly.
viewing pleasure in the
Okay.
near future.
Good selection
Concept is
of a
fine.
project. It'll be a good thing.
Yeah,
Yep,
excellent.
okay.
Thank you.
Any
So
Any
I think you
comments or
have a nod
questions
of
from the
approval
audience?
from us.
Nope.
Say again?
I asked if there was any comments or questions from the audience.
But I want him to go away recognizing that this board is approving what you're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna
Within-
ask for a vote.
Yeah, so,
then,
so
you
now,
know,
now we're kind of circling back, and can I have a
Okay.
motion to,
Approve
to
the concept.
approve the concept of the project?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay,
Great.
so you,
wait to hear.
Stay in touch.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Okay, so,
Can I just say?
sure.
No, a long time ago, I asked whether it was possible for us to have some sense of all the work that the Scouts have done. I think they have done an enormous amount of work for Westford. And I think it would be very nice if we could have it collectively put into some sort of, instead of it being scattered out there, if we could find out from
Sierra's
the
done
Scouts.
some great research in compiling those
I'd
projects.
like to see that,
And
and
I
I'd
can
like to-
certainly provide that in
And
the
I'd like to
commission's next.
eventually find some way to share it for the public so that we can properly acknowledge the
Some-
work that you have done.
Some years ago, there was a scout that was gonna write a summary of Boy Scout activities in the town.
Talked about it, but I don't remember.
Yep, and I think it went
Anything
through,
coming
and
from
I
it.
think they went to either you or your
Yeah, I
predecessor.
remember providing, I think,
You or Carol, and got a list of all of the,
I
all the
think we
files.
sent an email. I think we, found what we had, the information we had and sent it to them. I'll go dig it
But
out.
It was
I've
probably
never
Car-
seen
If you don't
anything.
recall directly, it was probably Carol.
No, I think Sierra, I think Sierra compiled the files of it.
But
and-
it would be nice to start somewhere and build on it,
Mm-hmm.
and then have that going forward, for many reasons.
Good enough.
So Matt, with the 7:25,
I'm requesting that be tabled to a future meeting. The plan has not been provided to us, so you guys can't review it.
okay, so but there's no
What do-
public hearing that we
No-
need
no
to
public
continue or
hearing.
anything like
You're
that?
on what?
Okay. Okay, so
We're on to the 7:30.
we're on to the 7:30.
Okay.
Which is Meadowbrook Farm, 5 Gould Road, a request to support the CPC applications.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bob Waskevich, and I live at 120 Groton Road in Westford, and I own Meadowbrook Farm. And the last time I appeared before you was 27 years ago, and I see, Eric, that some of us are still here, Marilyn. And I shouldn't do this, but just so
Oh, my
you
God.
Nice.
recognize that dear lady
Nice.
in that picture.
That flattery,
Nice.
flattery will get you nowhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Well,
This
that
is when I was
Marilyn
young.
Frank, back in 2001, at the farm, on her knees, planting gardens, raising 10,000 pounds of vegetables for the needy. And no, you can't keep that paper, although you probably have.
I have my own
For
copy.
those watching along at home.
And she looks just as young as she ever did, right?
I'm not blushing. By the way, Bob, I need a phone number for you because I couldn't reach you.
Oh, okay, sounds fair.
Before you leave, you write it down.
Matt, I think you've seen that already.
It's on the big screen.
Oh, there it is. Very good.
Want to share with everybody.
Thank you. I'm glad you did. In any event, good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to appear before you this evening. I come before you this evening with the hope that you will give good consideration to our request for the support of the outreach gardens. And these were the outreach gardens, Marilyn, that you worked at. 27 years ago, we were at a crossroads in this town as to whether or not we should get involved with Meadowbrook Farm. Thousands of our fellow citizens gathered together at a special town meeting, at a special town election. Yours truly in a full cow uniform with an udder, waving at cars at 5 o'clock on the town common. And we all came together and we saved that farm, a 1740 farm, from 53 houses being built, and it now has forever a historic preservation, and it will be a farm forever. It's in trust, it's not going anywhere, and we're going to have an opportunity. We're going to have an opportunity to do some good things once again as a community. And it's my job to report to you and share with you what we're thinking about. For the last year and a half, we've been working with groups like Gaining Ground in Concord, Massachusetts, a group that farms 3 acres of town land and raises over 100,000 pounds of vegetables for the needy. Most recently, Elizabeth Alameda connected me with a group called the Boston Area Gleaners. I never knew what the word gleaner meant, but evidently it goes back to biblical terms
right.
where you always leave some portion of your farm and your crop
Farmers.
for the needy. And in this instance, this particular group raised over 1 million pounds of vegetables in Massachusetts last year. Good vegetables and fruits from orchards and farms for the needy. And I was with them yesterday at their new farm in Acton. They've been out to Meadowbrook Farm, and I'm hopeful that in another year or so, because their hands are very full right now with the acquisition of their new farm, that they will be able to come to Meadowbrook Farm and do the same. We're not going to charge them $1. We're going to be using our land. We're going to be using conservation land that we lease from the community and cemetery land where we've had a long-standing agreement. Up until now, we have farmed that land. We have raised crops of hay. But as all of you know, this past summer, you could have dropped a match on it. It would have went up in 10 seconds. A year ago, it would have rotted on the vine. It's just not viable for hay anymore. A person that stood on this board 25 years ago when we were working, George Fletcher, raised 50 to 100,000 pounds of pumpkins there. He took his own irrigation pipes. He had an old pumper truck from the fire department, ran it down to the swamp, collected the water, and that's how we watered it. Most recently, thanks to your support, Marilyn, and everybody on the CPC and CPA, we received an award that now has to go before different town committees and certainly town meeting to help us with the infrastructure that's needed to attract farmers like Boston Area Gleaners to come to the farm. And that infrastructure amounts to the fencing, 8-foot-high deer fencing to keep deer out. We know that that takes about 30% of our crop without it, irrigation, a well, and a well house. And that's what our plans are for that, because we believe, and I know my partner Bob, who passed away in November, and Bob and Margaret Webb, they believe very strongly, and a month before he passed, he was very excited about the possibility of this happening, and we still are, and I think it will be a good legacy, not just for the farm, but it'll be a good legacy for this community, to be known as a community that's raising food for people in need. So, can I answer any questions for any of you, please?
I can just briefly, the map on the screen, the green parcel is owned by the trust, the farm's trust. The Conservation Commission holds a conservation restriction on it. The yellow parcels are under the care and custody of the select board. The red magenta-y color one is the cemetery commission, and the blue parcels to the north and top of the plan are the Conservation Commission parcels. Just to kind of reorient yourself, and as Bob mentioned, the conceptual garden location does kind of span all three parcels, with the commission, with a portion being on the commission's, the parcel the commission's conservation restriction is subject to, and in reviewing the the language of the conservation restriction, it certainly, at the conceptual level, and I think it certainly is achievable for the proposed scope of work to be consistent with the conservation restriction, and allowable, again.
The area within the green.
Yes, the portion within the green, and that's, again, kind of bringing at a high level, is certainly a consistent with the conservation restriction, but also in hearing the proposed activities, I certainly thought there being some overlap with the commission's, the commission as a landowner, in the operation of the day agricultural land and the Hill Orchard, there is some symbiotic relationship, and that's why I wanted to make sure, if the commission was amenable, to put it on the agenda to.
That will answer some questions for the public as well, because Bob has to meet a lot of criteria in order to do this, within each of the groups that has the, control over the piece of property.
But at least for the piece that we have control over in the green, I don't think there'd be much dissent from allowing what's happening if it can happen within the framework of what we're allowed to.
Correct. That's why we need.
Everything's, from the high level, at this stage, and, I certainly think it is consistent with the conservation restriction.
And this is looking for support.
Yes.
Jim?
Could you give us a kind of a summary of what you're asking for CPC? And is it all parts of this, the fencing, the drilling, the
pieces.
well, plumbing, all that kind of stuff?
Sure.
It's
there'll
all
be-
at once, or?
Sure,
pieces.
it will start with the well first. We want to get good water out of it. We want to make sure we've got good water, so we'll start with the well. Then we'll go to the fencing. We've already got quotes on the fencing. It's shocking, $36,000 to fence 4 acres. Wells that we put in 20 years ago, all of a sudden the cost is $11,000. Now we're going to be $40,000. We'll have frost-free hydrants out in the field for watering as well. We'll have irrigation in the ground. We'll have parking for about 8 cars, and we'll have a separate entrance going into it. The farm right now is being run by Sandra Habe and her crew of good people. They took it over about 2.5 years ago, the buildings and the main structures, and they do a great job with kids. We want a separate entrance so all of those kids aren't disturbed during the day. All of our people are Cory checked, including myself, and so there'll be a separate entrance going into it.
So this is all in one CPC cycle?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
It's two applications he has put in. CPC voted for it.
Both under open space, or wouldn't be, or recreation? It wouldn't be
I don't
historical
remember- I don't
preservation.
I
remember
think
what
it
it
was
says
open
on there.
space.
Open space?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be affordable.
I think so, yeah, no.
Maybe
no.
historical.
No, it would
I
have
mean,
to be open
The
space.
operation of the,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it would
it's
have
been
to
a
come
historic
under
farm,
open
so,
space.
but
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with what was on the application anymore.
The farm, for whatever it's worth, the farm was nominated a long time ago, unbeknownst to us, Bob Webb and Margaret and myself, and it did receive the Historic Renovation of the Year Award from the State House. If you haven't been there, you should go there. It's a good place.
I would support the application.
Should have a motion.
Yeah, but also,
Let's ask the.
yeah, I also connect. So, do members of the audience have any comments or questions on this? Yes, if you come up to the microphone, tell us who you are.
My name is Bernard Peliquin. I live at 1 Leland Road, former neighbor of Bob when he lived at 4 Leland Road. I'm one of the directors and also the treasurer of the food pantry here in Westford. And as the treasurer, I'm spending $300 or $400 a week on fresh produce. This will be a tremendous thing for us to provide balanced nutrition to our clientele. So I think it's a wonderful thing that they're doing.
Please come to town
Fully
meeting.
supportive. Okay.
So, seeing no further comments or questions, can I have a motion to support these CPC applications?
I'd like to put that in.
We support the application.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you very much.
And thank you.
I have one thing to share with you, all of you, from somebody who's done public speaking for 40 years. That young man that just spoke to us did an incredible job. I would have been running out of this building and never appeared before you at
The
that
fearless.
age.
Especially
He did a
at that
fantastic
age.
job. Thank you all very much.
Bob, I
Nice to
need
meet
a
with you.
number.
Take care.
Okay, moving on to our 7:35 PM agenda item.
Or 7:30. Oh, 7:35, you're right, sorry.
Okay. Continuation of a public hearing for Perkins Balsam Circle.
Sal,
That's the office.
what about the Sal?
Hello again, Chris Perkins, I live at 9 Balsam Circle. The last time we got together, there was a couple of things that have happened since, and it's probably worth talking about those. One of which is
I
Matt was
wanna
kind
call you
enough to
this.
share a draft of a write-up that is being proposed by the commission in response. And I have also communicated with Matt about my concerns about the wetland itself. It's one big wetland, and it's in tough shape. He told me that he went out, looked at it, so I'll actually let you speak to that part.
Yeah, so, and, kind of following up from the public hearing at the last meeting, I did solicit the input of the DEP circuit rider about the order of process for going forward with this, and where the commission, she recommended, as the commission was moving towards the issuance of a negative determination for the scope of work which was proposed, to issue that with conditions and then immediately follow that with an enforcement for conditions, that for for unpermitted alteration of a wetland resource, and the related buffer, and also for the failure to comply with conditions of a negative determination of applicability. So that's kind of why on this, other times with notice of intents, we'll have the enforcement order before, kind of get to a point of remediation before hearing the new project. This is kind of flipped and certainly a new circumstance. And yes, I did receive an email. It is included in the commission's packet under the, I think, enforcement order, and some from Mr. Perkins related to the, Liberty Way and trash and litter, kind of that has accumulated off the roadway and within the buffer to the wetland resource. I have communicated with the Liberty Way property owners. I sent that letter out last Friday. And have been in communication with at least one of the representatives for the ownerships of a couple of the units, to get that rectified, and we've just unfortunately been playing phone tag. So where, kind of to wrap things up, if the commission would consider the request for the request for determination of applicability, and then move forward to reviewing and discussing the enforcement order, it would be much appreciated from a point of order.
Now, normally when we do a negative, condition on negative determination, normally we do that, and then you have taken notes and you do the conditions at that point. So at this point, all we're doing is issuing a conditional negative determination, correct?
Yes, that was included in the commission, in the meeting packet, included the replacement plantings, first growing season following the removal of the trees approved, standing bud logs approximately 10 feet tall shall remain, and species shall be reviewed with and approved by the commission, the conservation resource planner prior to the installation. And so
Can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination of applicability? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So you've got something for us to sign?
yes, and if the commission could also close the public hearing related to that.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Move on to the enforcement order.
Yes, and then moving on to the enforcement order. The draft was provided for the commission's review, and I know Mr. Perkins had some comments regarding some of the language that I, again, kind of recommended he discuss with the commission, as ultimately the commission is issuing the issuing authority on this. And if the commission has any questions regarding the specifics of the draft enforcement order, I'm more than happy to discuss.
Okay, back to me. All right, planting the trees, that's no problem. We always intended to do that. In fact, that's no problem. If you could provide me the conservation resource planner name and contact. It's you. So we're gonna work with you on what species?
Yes.
Okay, I have your contact, so that's good. Any unpermitted, that's not a problem. The third item was, make sure it doesn't happen in the future, and specifically make sure Marquee doesn't do anything in the future. I would change Marquee to any tree service, just to preclude the possibility that we go to a different service. So that's what I would suggest, any tree service.
It's specific to this, though.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it
specific
is?
to this
This
order, you know, for this work, this scope of work with which occurred, you know, at the previous meeting with Chestnut. And that's why it's specific to them, you know, there is no, you know, regardless of how, whether it was at your direction or whether it was, you know, they were unknowing. I feel that they are professionals, they should be aware of the, you know, of what's going on, and, you know, that's my,
I stated the last time, I'll restate it again, they couldn't have possibly changed the course of events that I directed. I mean, I asked them to provide a letter as an arborist for 2 specific trees. They gave me that response, I provided it to the commission, and then we scheduled them some time ago. They showed up and I marked and showed them which trees to take down. I don't know how they could have done anything differently. But that's my only concern about that.
And, and this is where, with our cumulative experience, we see contractors, they should be able to look a certain distance beyond where they've been asked to work. They see the presence of wetlands, they should know to ask, is this work permitted?
I could understand that if it wasn't for the fact that the people that show up to do the actual tree cutting are not those people. And so they couldn't have possibly pieced that together.
Is there any other way to educate?
No, I just think this, I think this is written well, and it's written the way it should be.
Yeah, it covers it.
It points out, you know, the tree company that did the work, and, you know,
We see their signs quite a bit in town, we need,
Okay.
they need to know that we take it seriously.
and if there's a issue with communications, it's amongst them as well. You know, they need to be communicating with their own people
Going
about this
forward,
is
I'm
what,
sure
and
they're
what
gonna
can
ask.
happen.
Going
So,
forward.
Yeah.
you know, that's something that they need to address.
Then moving on, the posts themselves, what's a 24-inch reveal? Does that mean it's got to stick above ground?
yes.
Okay. And just as a general comment, 40-foot spacing, we're in condo units that are a couple of arms lengths away from each other. At 40-foot spacing, that puts 2 signs behind every single unit. I just think that's kind of overkill for a
Right,
captive audience
it can
of
you know,
5 or 6 houses. It's non-transient as opposed to, say, Liberty, where hundreds of people a day go back and forth, electric contractors back and forth. The swim facility schedules lessons even through the weekend. Many, many people come back and forth. So my question, I guess, is, number one, that was one, 24-inch reveal. Spacing seems a little bit excessive, and follow that up with, who's gonna put the signs in the other part of the wetland, i.e. along Liberty?
Well, right now,
where the real
this is
damage-
the side where the trees were cut when they weren't
Correct.
supposed to be. So
Correct.
this is the side we want to have the
I'm
markers
thinking of the
on.
health of the wetland.
That's nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that was, what we're enforcing here is the issue about cutting the trees without having the order of conditions available.
Okay,
and just to give you some background on that 40-foot spacing,
yeah,
is a lot of times is when a site is being, when the site is proposed and we're going through the design phase, what we tend to do is post them so that from one to the next, you can see the next post from where you are, and we tend to have them follow a straight line, so that somebody looking at the post just
Yeah.
goes, drawing a line from post to post to post, they can see where that edge of, that edge of the area is, and
Okay.
so,
I just, my first thought was 2 behind every single house, and they're, like I said, arm's length away from each other. Seemed a little excessive.
I mean, if the commission's.
So what was your proposal then?
1 behind every house.
well,
And that spacing is?
Probably closer to 70 feet.
No,
But
usually we're on the order of 40, 50 foot,
Well, and-
40 to 50 feet.
is, Matt, thinking about the edge that we're looking at here, is it fairly straight, or are there,
It's a straight curve.
It's a straight curve, okay. You know,
There's no undulations.
No
there's
undulation.
no
There you go.
undulations, okay. One of the other things is, as vegetation grows up,
Yes,
it can also start to obscure the posts.
all right.
So that's where having them more frequently than people might expect, it becomes harder to miss them.
And the no disturb or do not disturb beyond those markers
Right.
means you don't cut the lawn, you don't rip up trees, you don't cut trees, you don't trim branches, nothing.
And just to get an idea what these are gonna look like, since I'll be responsible, is there somewhere in town that I can go take a look at where they are to get an idea?
Four by
what-
four wooden posts?
No, no, with the
Oh,
markers.
the markers.
I can provide
Yeah, I'd just like to take a look at what they look like, so
No,
I get it right.
I that's a
Okay, all
good
right.
point. I can certainly, I
That
can
would-
also
that would help.
provide a photo.
Yeah.
So those were my questions. And I think you've done a good job answering them. Not sure what else to add.
Members of
That's
the
it.
commission, anything
I
else?
don't, you know,
Think it's complete?
I think it is, and, you know, I was trying to decide whether or not we should issue a fine, but, you know,
I do
I
not agree
can-
with that.
you know. Go ahead.
I just have one minor amendment to the language of order number 4. It says conservation posts shall be spaced 40 feet and then 40 with a apostrophe. Would like to write out 40 for clarification purposes. It's just, yeah.
But in thinking about it, I don't know if the fine is warranted, so I'm not in favor of issuing the fine.
Okay.
And Matt, you told me you forwarded what I sent in that email with the pictures. I had offered to, because I'm in the neighborhood and I'm already, one of the reasons your carry-out policy at Stony Brook is somewhat successful, because I walk my dog over every day with a plastic bag and I pick up all the trash I see. I'm willing to do the same thing here if it comes to that.
I'd like to see Liberty Way, take ownership of their parcels, and, I mean, it's not, my thought with Liberty Way, and while I certainly appreciate the gesture, and it means a lot, I'd rather your volunteerism be directed towards another group that, but in terms of Liberty Way, my thought is the people going to Liberty Way are going to Liberty Way. It's not people are driving up Boston Road and it's, they're getting to one venue or another. Liberty Way should be able to handle their own litter, and I think that's a fairly low bar for us to, for them to achieve. And I mean, I'm sure the unit owners aren't mowing their own lawns and salting and sanding. I'm sure there's a management company that is doing that work, and clean up your trash.
Yeah, easy enough.
And so, and if, the letter does not achieve compliance, there are certainly mechanisms for which we can, persuade.
I agree.
Do it the easy way or the hard way.
But Chris, in terms of if you have people who would like to volunteer to do stuff, I know the Westford Conservation Trust is always looking for volunteers to help with keeping trails cleared and doing different things. They would love to have your help.
All right, no, and that's why I do it over at Stony Brook, because I love that place.
Yeah.
My dog loves that place, and I hate seeing the trash.
Oh, and we
This
do too.
wetland is in my backyard, and I hate seeing the trash.
Pay attention to
I'm
the
just
March,
telling you.
pay attention to the March 22nd agenda. There's a teaser. We'll, we'll have emails.
Okay, so can I have a motion to issue the enforcement order as amended?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Chris.
Very much.
So, on the 22nd, I come back?
No, I'm saying just
No, no.
Just,
a relevant discussion will be on the 22nd. So.
yes. Okay, moving on to our 7:40 PM agenda item, continue public hearing for Samia, 12 Castle Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Nick Pauling from Goldsmith Preston Ringwall. Nice to see you all again. Just wanted to come in and give you an update since the last time we met. So we've provided an 11 by 17 sketch, basically moving around the proposed components around the site. We haven't had a chance to do soil testing yet, so this is more of wanted to update the commission in the past that we were going down, knowing full well that now, if applicable or acceptable to the commission, I have a month to basically go to get it designed. So we tried to clarify a number of things. There's only two things that are shown on this plan. One is the red. This is the proposed limits as the plan we came in with previously, and that actually had the leaching area up here in this area in the front. So what we were able to do is just moving around the same components, push the house forward and take this leaching area, and where we currently have it proposed is just clipping the 100-foot buffer to the north wetland, and just outside, or just this corner here, is in the 100-foot buffer to the southern wetland. And then this well, we're under the impression is an irrigation well, which only has a 50-foot radii. So that's this. So we feel that, again, I have to do soil testing and then prove the design, but we feel that we could possibly reconfigure, move things. Now, this is going to require that this existing well to the north, just located outside that proposed restoration area, be decommissioned, and then a new well be drilled further down here. Now, you notice this is essentially right on the 30-foot buffer. The well itself has a buffer, an offset due to the Board of Health regulations of 50 feet from this property line. So this may slide, left to right, but unfortunately, we're not going to move it up, and we can't really move it to the south just due to the location of the driveway itself, right? So this proposal did pull the house southerly, you'll notice. So this was the proposed limit of the house, and now that's down here. And the reason for that is just the geometry and grading of connecting the new garage doors into the existing asphalt. So you'll actually notice that this area here, I'm trying to imaginarily color, is proposed asphalt, which again reflected a decrease in impervious surfaces from what's out there today. It's a slightly decrease here, but then, this is actually new impervious. One thing to just note, well, two things actually. Because this location of this system is outside the 100-foot buffer, it's also up gradient. It's higher than the service. So that means that we have to service it with a force main, a solid pipe, and then we have an additional tank. Now, as this house moves forward, unfortunately, the tanks can't be outside the 100-foot buffer. So those tanks actually moved closer. Originally, it was in this area here, and now we've moved them down just due to the geometry of the wetland to the east and the wetland to the south. There's this 55-foot buffer zone that we've kind of just shoehorned those tanks in there. So they're still outside the 55-foot, but certainly in the buffer. So that's closer than the existing tank. But again, should be watertight.
And that's partly because it has to be kept out of the 100-foot around the new well?
Yes. So they're also subject to the 50 feet to the well as well. So yes, they could possibly come up to this northern area, but again, that's just outside the 55-foot area. So moving them from this proposed location to here, we're not gaining anything as far as an increase in offset to the wetlands themselves.
So these are gravity fed out to here,
Yes.
and then they're pumped up here.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to, you couldn't put them over here because they wouldn't be gravity fed before they're pumped up?
So putting them in the rear also eliminates the ability to gravity out of the basement. So with the site flowing from this being high and this continuing to go low, moving the tanks to the rear would have to either include a pump within the basement itself or just the elimination of that whole service floor.
Well, we should do that then, because we would not allow these tanks in here. And if all he has to do is sounds like there's an engineering solution to it that would keep them, they wouldn't be gravity fed the way they are now. But right now, those two chambers are within, the 100-foot buffer, which we don't allow in a local wetland, so.
And the force main's going within the 55, yes, 55.
I gotta think there's a way that we can have that coming out to the back. Gotta be an engineering solution for that.
So I'll answer that by saying I typically say that nothing's impossible, it's just more
Yeah,
expensive.
no, but I'm saying that, I'm saying that that's probably not gonna be acceptable.
Between that and between where they're located and where the force main runs? Because the force main
No,
is-
no, I see the force main, but the force main won't be there if it gets pumped out of the
No,
back of
but
the
I'm just-
basement.
As
Yeah.
currently proposed, it's
Yeah, the force main and those chambers are
So,
within the 100.
so just to point out, if we take these tanks and move them to the rear, from here to here, as you're pointing out,
Yeah.
they're at the same offset, because this is the 55-foot buffer here.
But then you've also got a shorter force main.
Yeah.
Go within the 55.
I'm trying to get maximum feasible compliance and the least amount of stuff. And, out the back is better than that long force main and those two chambers where they are.
So, is it more problematic relative to the force main or the tanks?
Well, we typically don't allow either within the 100-foot. So here, you had a house, you're trying maximum feasible compliance, so we're trying to keep whatever we can outside of the 100.
I understand. Let me see if I can pose the question again. If the tanks are located here and they're located 58 feet from a wetland edge, and if they move to here and they're located 58 to 68 feet from the wetland edge, the 68 would be more compliant, but if they stay at the same offset, they're still in the 100-foot buffer and still at the same offset. Conversely, if the tanks moved from here to here and still are at 58 feet, but the force main never crossed the 30, then I would say that that would be more compliant. Am I in a wrong line of thinking relative to the commission? So tanks
Yeah.
would be still in the buffer. Granted, if they're in the back of the house, they can still encroach, I guess, within the 100-foot buffer. The question is if you're in the buffer, are we trying to get it as far out of the buffer as possible, or just eliminate the items in the buffer?
What's
Well, we
forcing
always
the,
try to eliminate it in the buffer. If you're telling me there's no feasible possible way to do that, sorry, Joe.
wait till you're done.
No, if there's no possible feasible way to keep everything outside the 100, then we're trying to make sure we have as little as possible within the buffer.
And which is more problematic in the buffer, the tanks or the force main? I mean, is one more detrimental than the other?
I'm not saying that either is any better or any worse. I'm just
Okay.
saying we try to keep all
Yeah,
components
and
out.
one of the things I'm thinking about is, does the length of the force main factor into that evaluation? How does the length of the force main factor into the evaluation of one solution versus another?
Well, the amount that's in the buffer. If there's
Okay.
gonna be more force main, given, one plan versus, less than the other, I'm choosing less than more.
Okay. So if all the tanks are the same distance from the wetlands, the one that has the shortest force main is.
Would probably be the best alternative.
Okay, Jim?
What aspect of the building design requires the sewer drain to come out of this corner of the building?
None. So just, again, the service, having a service connection via gravity within the basement itself. So this is just the lowest part of the site. So
So it feeds out and then he pumps it up.
right, so it's a case of, we have to have a pump to get the effluent from the building to the leaching area. If it comes out the back, comes out the front, comes out this side, anywhere we put this, this is higher than the service.
I understand the need for pumping
Right.
from this
So
side.
from that standpoint, it's we have to pump it anyways. Can we put it in a location that's the most effective for the total structure?
Coming out of the house, is the way the building designed, is this where the sewer main is, all at this end? Or,
No, it's actually up here. We haven't changed it yet.
okay, and what about if it was on the other side, the west side of the house there?
Well, this is nearly exposed basement foundation, and this is
Higher.
it's too high. So I couldn't put the tanks deep enough.
So he has to simply pump it up.
I mean, everything could be outside the 100-foot. If
Yes.
it's in that area.
Correct.
I don't know the health, the regulations for, is there a restriction on how deep?
Yes, 3 feet.
The what?
The top of the tank.
Okay, the top has to be within 3 feet of grade?
Yes, sir. So a couple other things, the grades around the house still have to be adjusted to kind of be updated. We took an attempt, based on the architecture that we had for this house. There is a walkout out of the basement here to provide access in and out of that. That grading we show actually clipping into the 30-foot buffer here. That is an area that's already disturbed where it's a maintained lawn in that area where this is the existing tree line. But again, that's one of the items that we wanted to talk about with the commission. Again, that grading actually allows the continuation of a ridge that's here. All of this area here is actually lower than this wetland. So this grade actually climbs up to this existing stone wall and falls off into this wetland. So this proposed grading in this location actually continues that ridge to protect that walkout. But it is within, although being already disturbed, your 30-foot no-touch area. So, based on our last meeting, we proposed leaching area as far out of the buffer as possible, move the house accordingly to adjust. I'm hearing loud and clear relative to the tanks that, I guess the tanks are part of the septic, so I'll continue to try to move those out. The general thought process is knowing that you don't have a meeting in 2 weeks, it's March 22nd. I've coordinated soil testing for Friday for this approximate area. I'd like to go through that with a general straw or at least head nodding of acceptance or comments with this so that we can incorporate and come back with a design that is more palatable to the commission on the 22nd.
Well, I think the leaching field is primarily outside of the 100, except for that small portion of it, which is, you know, certainly better than the pre-existing condition.
So again, just to be clear, this is based on the testing that I found in the front. So I hope I can keep Pandora's box shut, but nothing says that same soils, elevations, things like that. So there may be more grading, it might be a different size, but that is the intended area here.
If there was going to be any changes to it, I wouldn't want them to be further impactful and be within the 100. I mean, you could orientate that to, you know, to the extent possible, you know, to keep it out. I mean, right now, it all seems to be, you know, parallel to one another. It doesn't mean it can't be tweaked.
So specifically, there's two things that are gonna drive the design. The percolation rate is going to adjust the footprint itself, which I can certainly make wider, not a big deal. The thing I cannot really address or change is the depth of groundwater. If the groundwater is at a certain elevation and this needs to come up further out of the ground, well then these proposed contours here have to come up higher, and then to catch up the grade means you're disturbing more in the buffer zone. It's not leaching area, it's the grading, but, you know.
So we'll see on the 22nd.
That's,
Yeah, but the grade, you know,
At least we're talking
there's the
about it.
leaching field and then there's the grading. I think we've allowed grading to the leaching field to occur within the 100-foot, you know, within the 100-foot buffer. It's the actual
It's the
components of the
components.
system
Okay.
that we try to keep outside. But the grading wouldn't be so much of a bother.
okay. That's good to know. And work within previously disturbed 30-foot areas. This area and this area may get a little tight here. This is the existing edge of the driveway. Taking out the existing drive that comes up this way, you know, we'll be clipping the 30-foot here as well as with the well drilling.
Which I think we would be okay with since it's a driveway.
I think that our restoration also offsets anything that we're doing.
Okay.
Okay, well, I appreciate all the clear marching orders, and then just lastly, I know that the placards were quantified in the previous agenda item at 4x4x48, 24-inch reveal at 40-foot spacings. Is it safe to assume that we would want that at the 30-foot buffer here?
I think that would be good and then along the driveway.
And so you would want them here?
That's,
So they wouldn't be going beyond that driveway.
right, the outside edge of it.
Well,
We put it 3 to 5 feet off of the drive, so there's a shoulder?
well, yeah, because I'm thinking, you know, if that's down slope, I mean, you've
Well,
got
wherever
somebody.
that post is, up to that post, they're gonna clear and maintain.
So
Yeah,
this is the existing edge of vegetation here, and then this does overlap the edge of driveway, but then
Yeah.
it does fall off. And then the question becomes down here. Where would the buffer, where would they go here?
Maybe you have to walk the site.
No, let Matt figure that out.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Thanks.
I just said.
I think that's a,
We'll figure that out on the
that's,
I think
that's,
No, that's, you
if
know,
Matt had a look at that, maybe.
Yeah.
that's, I'm perfectly happy with, you
You
know,
don't have to
field
have the answer
coordination.
tonight.
I understand.
well, and I think sometimes it's deciding those things, it's easier to do when you're out in the field.
100%.
Yeah, I can swing out.
You know what happens
No.
when you assume, though, so might as
Well,
well ask.
yeah, no, I'll stop out, I'll take a couple photos of the kind of the existing
Okay.
conditions for the next
Yeah.
meeting.
We
we're
just-
certainly making progress, so
Yeah, I feel like you've come back
we're
with.
getting there.
All right, well, wish me luck on Friday.
We do.
Well, I was gonna ask you if you had something to
Oh,
say
no, I
first.
have nothing, I have, you know, it's all been addressed.
Okay, are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? No, okay,
Continue to the 22nd?
yes, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to March 22nd?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
See you in a month.
yes. Moving on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, oh, wait a second. Yeah,
Yep.
That's right,
7:45,
that's right.
continued public hearing, Franklin 31 Bridge Street.
It is a little bit. I just noticed it about an hour ago.
Hi, Chris,
How's everybody
Usually
today?
mind.
Good.
I'm dressed pretty well.
doing good?
Yeah, not bad.
So I was out on the site today to
I didn't get your-
confirm the wetland delineation, and outside of, I think, 2 flags, that I just had a question about, and it very well could have just been my perception of how they were being located, how they were located in the field and how they were, which more often than not means a tree came down, the branch got a branch got broken or a tree came, something got slightly moved, but,
There were all pines along the edge there, so.
yeah, no, it was in this general, between 23A and 20A, just kind of how I was perceiving it. But overall, certainly, was the wetlands that have been delineated, the flagging certainly looks appropriate. One thing I did notice as I was walking back up the street, there is a wetland directly opposite of
The house.
which is not shown and, I mean, comes probably in line with this hydrant, of which, you know, there's certainly a portion of the front of the property along Bridge Street with which is in the 100-foot buffer. And that was my only kind of substantial comment with that, and I will have my comments memorialized in a email to Chris and to share with the project team. Additionally, in reviewing the enforcement order, reviewing what was proposed for the plan, what was included in the enforcement order for the items that needed to be addressed. I still think, you know, as the existing this as an existing conditions plan certainly is sufficient, but in terms of the items the commission was looking for in terms of future snow storage, future location of things, you know,
Right.
how is this site to be operated, so that it is consistent with the regulations, and it's not just, oh, this gets put here at this time because this is an open spot that I can put something. And so that's, you know, that's kind of the next steps, and, you know,
We're pretty much stuck to the paved area. I mean, we
Yeah,
really, it was paved before I bought the property, and that was in 1996. So I haven't added to the pavement.
No, but there's also, you know, so kind of between the easterly kind of entrance, you know, in front of this metal storage box, there's a car and two trailers, you know, that, again, it's not paved, there's just
storage there.
stuff, I mean,
Yep,
so that's, I think, you know, I want to review the enforcement order and, you know, the items on that, which are, you know, show where things are going to be going forward, so it's not just on, you know, February 2nd, when this plan was prepared, these were the conditions. It's, you know, the plan and the future, you know, where things will be located, so that we can, you know, so something is either, you know, there are plows being stored within an area with which was, you know, dry storage of plows, and, you know, vehicles are to be located, you know, again, you know, and, you know, the edge of pavement is certainly, you know, in this area certainly is shown, but there are, you know, the truck is, you know, the paving, one of the dump trucks and trailers is, you know, fairly close to, you know, I think is beyond the edge of pavement. I think it's on the you know, it's on gravel beyond the edge of pavement. And so that's kind of you know, the edge of pavement is a good locator, but at the same time, I think there is some, you know, clarification as to, you know, what's to be stored in what locations, and I can communicate that with you next week, and, you know, kind of, here's the things that need to be addressed.
Here's the things you want.
Punch
And I mean, I don't have a problem, again, because again, some of this stuff is, you know, it's housekeeping, and I need to get it squared away. But if you tell me where we can do stuff, you know, that's fine.
Yep.
And again, I have Howard plowing his snow across the street from his driveway, well, not this year, but in prior years. You know, if we designate a spot to store snow in is it the easterly parking lot? It can all be done there. I mean, there's enough, on site, there's enough equipment that put it here and be done with it.
Exactly.
So if you tell me where you want some of this stuff to be.
No, I think it's certainly,
We can,
yeah, and again, it can be executed, it can, you know, have you know, the existing conditions plan is good for right now, but adding to that with, you know, what is to be in what location.
Jim?
Things like the junk vehicles or cars like that, those are obvious problems if they're, you know,
Yeah, I didn't
inside
see any.
in the 30-foot area or whatever. But the metal containers, the storage containers, they're all between 30 and like 50 feet. And any idea what's in
I
those?
wasn't, again, I wasn't able to coordinate with Chris when he was on site, you know, I had change
We
of
wouldn't want-
plans
I mean,
this
that
morning.
That close distance,
Yep.
those are just out, some of them
We,
are just
the line-
outside 30
well,
feet.
realistically,
In the other section of the plan.
the,
There you go. Oh, he's right here.
yeah,
This is right on,
yeah, no.
right on the wetland.
I'll get other pictures. I got pictures of them before. I'll get updated pictures of what's in them.
Feet from the wetland, 1
Yeah.
foot,
Yeah,
5
right,
feet.
you know, it's the wetland line goes right along the back
Right.
of it, so
Yeah.
that's,
And
that's something
what's
we
in
can.
them, what's in them. We would rather not have any storage containers that close. We don't
Right.
even have people that, homeowners that come to us and want a shed in the back.
We
If
don't
it's,
let 'em.
if it's 1 foot away, no way.
No, I understand, and I'll get,
20 feet away is no way.
These are like 5,
So
these
we
are like
can-
1 to 10 feet.
yeah.
We issued
And it's a
enforcement
mystery
orders
what's
for
in there,
20
and I'm kind of concerned, because we've seen barrels of oil, and we've seen,
Yeah, for the commissions, I'll have an updated, photos, kind of inventory
Okay.
of what's in,
Yeah, because
annotated as well, so that it's in this location, here's the photo, in this location, here's a photo.
Yeah.
And I suggest a periodic check.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're still trying to get to,
I got it.
issuing
I
a
understand. I
NOI,
understand.
or issuing an order. But we're certainly
Okay.
closer than when we started.
Yes.
So, do any of the members have
that's all I had.
questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, so we continue to March 22nd, and then, Okay.
I'm supposed to be coming back that day from,
okay.
so
next
can
one.
it be the week out, whatever the next one
The-
after
the
that is?
second- So the second
April.
Wednesday in April, which
All
would
right,
be,
whatever,
okay,
April,
Is it?
Matt's checking.
yeah.
12th?
Fine.
Hold on.
I can do
I think
it.
it's the, oh, it is, yeah, it is the 12th, sorry, it's not,
All right.
Thursday. We don't meet on Thursdays.
Hold on.
Okay.
All right,
It's the,
12th works?
it's the 12th, Matt.
absolutely.
Okay.
Matt, it's the 12th.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that'll be fine. And hopefully I'll have better, well, I'll meet with Matt and he can tell me what you want. And I will see if we can add to the plan what you want done, so we can get this completed.
Okay.
You want a
So
motion?
Completion.
Motion to continue the public hearing till
April
April 12th.
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chris.
appreciate it.
Chris,
No,
have a safe drive home.
Huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our 7:50 PM agenda item, for 55 Graniteville Road, a request to work between December 1st and April 1st, and a minor modification to remove an oak tree. Good evening.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. For the record, you are?
Dave Triano, 55 Graniteville.
And if the commission could act on this in two motions. The first is the property owner is requesting to begin foundation work prior to April 1st.
So what is the work that he wants to do between
Install the foundation, dig the foundation, pour a foundation, and
Okay.
that's what's in, in that, and also, if applicable, in the second request, remove
Remove an
the
oak
tree,
tree.
remove the oak tree. So, it's kind of two parts, one being the request, to start work before April 1st.
How's the grade and everything out there? It's not
I
gonna
think
be.
the erosion controls have been in since November, and they've
Yeah,
been in
put it
good
in the
shape,
fall.
prior to the enforcement order restoration occurring, and everything's looked good in the
Okay.
couple times I've been out.
So can I have a motion to approve the request to
Allow the work
within
between
the
December 1st
buffer?
and April 1st?
Yes.
The whole thing, or just the foundation?
For the foundation, I mean, the foundation's really the issue.
Foundation's the only work,
Yeah, the foundation's works.
Yeah, it would really only be that.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's really not any grading, and
so to work between, the request to work between March 13th and April 1st.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. And then
There's
with-
the oak tree.
remove an oak tree, plant an oak tree, and deal with the bittersweet.
Where's the?
Well, wait, let's find
Sorry,
out.
sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I drew up, well, there's a picture of it.
yeah, it was, it certainly looks like there's been some of the canopy, the branches of the canopy have come down. It's not a very it's a surprisingly, the canopy is surprisingly sparse for the size tree that it is, and in the location that it is as well.
The proximity from the structure, the structure being built is
That orange posted?
It's about like 15 feet.
15 feet.
So it's the kind of thing where, like, when we got the original plot plan done, that tree wasn't on it. I'm just kind of looking, and then NDS came out and marked it off, and I was like, eh. So then I, came up with the crazy idea of take it down, replace it, and deal with all the bittersweet. And there's a pretty large area here that's all covered in bittersweet.
Looks to be kind of in the location of the water easement that was likely created.
So this isn't in the way of anything, this is just a tree that's hanging out there that we're looking to take down?
It's about 15 feet from the new
From-
structure.
Okay.
It doesn't look
I
to
don't
be
have
in the
any
best
trouble
of
with
health.
No, it doesn't look like it's in the best of health, so.
Yeah,
Do we
deal
wanna
with it.
leave a 10-foot? Well,
I think you could probably take this one out and
another
plant
one?
something else.
Yeah, I mean, planting another oak tree after managing the invasives out there, I think the invasive,
That would be nice.
removal of the bittersweet infestation is
Plus.
certainly, will benefit
plus.
more than, a 10-foot snag.
Takes years. Hopefully not a tree that's only like yay big.
Standard nursery stock.
Yeah,
you know.
give me a larger size.
Yeah, and this tree is, if I remember the plan correctly, it's in a lawn area. It's not at the edge of woods or anything.
Well, how far from the lawn? So
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of
lawn, I
accumulated.
believe, is
So-
right here.
Okay, so it,
And then this is about 15 feet. So call it maybe 20 from lawn, 20
Okay.
feet from lawn.
well, what I'm thinking about is a lot of times when a tree is at the edge of a wooded area, that's when we like to leave a butt log to provide habitat. But if this is a tree in the middle of, if
Nothing.
this is a tree in the middle of a cleared area, it's not necessarily providing habitat the way it would be on the edge of the woods. That's my thought.
Agreed.
Well, that's your rationale, so.
Yeah, well,
I
yeah,
agree with her rationale.
okay,
and it's sparse on the top, and then it's just like.
yeah.
So, yeah, and
very
then there's the like
porcupine.
middle,
Maybe
yeah, I don't know, I've never really seen
Have
an
you
oak
seen a
tree
lot
that
of
looks like this,
woodpeckers?
They
but,
go to the top of the oak tree and they.
say again?
Have you seen a lot of woodpeckers around it?
You definitely hear them
Yeah.
when they're not pounding on my house.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. So,
You're good with it, or?
Yeah.
I don't have any trouble with this.
okay, so can I have a motion to grant the minor modification request to remove the oak tree, plant a replacement oak tree, and deal with the invasive bittersweet?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Enforcement orders, sorry, I just
Oh.
remembered I had it.
So, I should ask, like, the enforcement orders, so all the granite posts, the wood posts, those are all in, is that closed, like, officially, or what's the process there?
I will prepare a letter to provide to you.
Okay.
To kind of say that this has been resolved,
Okay,
and add it to the file.
yeah, okay, and then
The work's been, the restoration
the order
has-
of conditions goes along with the construction and everything?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to our discussion and action items. HR Adams Way, request to work between March 1st and March 31st.
The builder provided the work schedule. It's currently scheduled to start March 6th. The commission at a previous meeting approved work through February 28th. Whereas, so if the commission, if it finds amenable, to allow work within the
Digging a
month of March.
foundation, pouring,
Well, the same works,
Yeah, foundation, backfill, frame, and then it starts framing at the end of March, so, you
Okay,
know, it's.
yep.
so
That's
this
fine.
is all the work we had originally approved for them to do in February.
Yep.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the request to work between March 1st and March 31st
So moved.
at HR Adams Way?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Annual town meeting discussion to take positions on articles.
We usually do that at town meeting. We usually meet prior to
Yeah.
and take positions then.
Yeah, if the commission doesn't have, again, it was kind of just to provide opportunity for the commission to review, and also, once again, for the record, although telling it to nobody, March 25th at 10 a.m. at the Westford Academy Gymnasium, for those who are watching at home. So, yeah, we can certainly schedule a.
Yeah, we usually
usually
schedule it
come
like
a
a
half hour
hour
before.
beforehand.
Come a half hour.
Okay, half hour. I will
Okay.
make sure that that meeting gets posted.
Yeah, so that, and that way, if for any reason we have to meet to discuss something, we've got an open meeting already going. Okay. Planning board,
Yep, the plans for
plans
Groton
for
Road.
472 and 476 Groton Road.
So, two plans, the existing conditions and the proposed subdivision plans were provided for hard copies. My comments of the proposed subdivision, again, portions of the project are within the 100-foot buffer to a bordering vegetated wetlands as shown. Upon doing a little bit more digging, I found that the bordering vegetated wetlands supported a vernal pool and a certified vernal pool nonetheless.
Just a little thing like that, right?
You know, and I,
Point to it
and so.
where- Can you point to where it is on the?
Yeah, so the, sorry, I'm in the stormwater report. That's why things are looking weird. So the vernal pool, I think, is this lobe of there's certainly a bordering vegetated wetland around it. This lobe is currently holding water, and a portion of the certified vernal pool, or is one of the lobes of a certified vernal pool in that area. As such, it is, subject to the vernal pool standards.
Right.
And in the letter in kind of providing comments to the planning board, there was twofold. One being, they are proposing a 15-foot wide trail easement on Lot 4 to connect to the Greystone, the Conservation Commission's parcel north of the property, and the trail there. It's actually quite a nice walk, unless it's high winds. I would not then walk out there. But my comment related to the 15-foot wide trail easement was that for the planning board was to, respectfully request that bounds be installed at the corners of the easement so that they are, recognizable and immovable, and also if a permanent delineation of the extent of the easement, either by boulders, stone wall, or something of similar, no maintenance and permanent solution, so that the lot owners of the lot.
Adjacent.
No
Yeah,
approach.
the adjacent properties
Can't
and
spread
also
out.
the public know where to go.
Okay.
In doing the research on the certified vernal pool, Blacksmith Drive, Circle, whatever it is, to the west of the property, plan bottom, there's a 15-foot wide trail easement, which was originally proposed and is shown on the recorded subdivision plan for that, which connected to this parcel, to this, this larger parcel. And I'm requesting that the planning board require that a 15-foot wide trail easement be provided from generally this area, where map 46, parcel 45, 46, 44, somewhere in that area, along the detention pond to, connect the subdivisions and have them be marked similarly. Again, the commission, as ultimate, there will be a notice of intent filed for this project for the commission to review. So the work within the 100-foot buffer, is kind of, the comment, the notifying them about the certified vernal pool was more so to just allow them time so that what ultimately is provided to the commission is of the
Official.
More in line of what we expect.
Right, is, we're not reviewing something and, the day before the meeting, I'm looking at
Exactly.
plans and, it's a certified vernal pool and then
Exactly.
we're having discussions about hypothetical, kind of quick plan changes. So hopefully what ultimately gets filed with the commission is sufficient.
Something we can accept.
Right,
yes.
right, is of the highest quality for us to review. But in terms of, the planning board's review and as a part of the subdivision process, my comments were primarily related to trail connectivity, and if the commission has any other comments, I'd be more than happy to share them with the planning board for their upcoming meeting where they will open the public hearing on this.
So the Greystone Trail that's shown there, does it end there or does it extend?
It kind of turns north into the wetland, and I wasn't feeling that adventurous.
Okay.
It would benefit from a Eagle Scout project and a footbridge or two, but again, the water was it's a wet time to be traversing wetlands, and I didn't really want to.
Put it on the calendar for the future.
Yeah, for
Waiters.
when.
For your waiters.
Yeah, I'll add that to the my next purchase.
Well, and the reason I ask is because coming from Blackstone Circle, do you want to send them past the detention basin to the subdivision road, or do you want to have them kind of traverse around and join up to that trail? And it just, this is looking at it on paper as opposed to being out in the field and looking at it and say what makes sense.
It's actually really just kind of all flat. In this area, I was able to find the corner bound. But I can certainly include that as, a comment regarding, please provide some trail connectivity to the trail easement on Blacksmith.
Are these, is this development gonna be on town water? There's
I think so.
Currently, there's like I counted 5 wells, but I couldn't tell if they were to be abandoned or if they're expected to be used. They're all in the first couple of lots coming off of Rotten Road. I see 5 of them there, but the other houses over by the circle, there's no wells at all.
Yeah, I think it is proposed to be on town water.
So they'll probably get rid of those wells.
Yeah,
All right,
there are
good.
probably existing wells that will be
All right.
decommissioned.
Some of them are right on top of proposed septic. Some of
Yeah,
them are-
again, let's.
All right, good, okay.
I'm sure
Now, I was also looking for, I see where the old tree line are, and some of them are proposed tree lines. It doesn't look like we have any of the cases like we were concerned about with houses being built right up to the wetland buffers. It doesn't look like that, so,
No, it looks like the majority of it is out of our jurisdiction,
yes,
so.
yes, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, and again, this probably will get changed some by the time the commission looks at it, because, that 100-foot buffer, lot four, they're gonna have to start moving some things around.
Definitely concur with your suggestion on the markings for the trail easement. 'Cause that would be a perfect condition where the 2 neighbors would just divide it in half.
So I can I'll provide that comment to the planning board for their review, and again,
Thanks.
Thank you.
certainly,
Thank you.
if there's nothing further.
Moving right along.
The next topic is the Day Agricultural and Conservation Land and the farming lessees black plastic
In the trees.
in the trees.
Is that what it is now?
Drove by there today and it's not in the trees anymore, but it still is all on the ground.
So it still is in the trees. They've made significant progress in getting it down. They still have a ladder out there. I think they're trying to, they've made progress in removing it. There certainly still is some left, but the text I received from the lessee today was that they are trying to construct a 40-foot-long pole or of some sort to, you know,
Or is it up in the trees?
in the upper branches.
Did she say whether this was the biodegradable stuff, or if she's going to?
I have not asked. I thought she was moving away from the biodegradable plastics because, yeah, so this was
Oh, yeah, I checked
back
that.
beginning of the month. This was later in the month, you know, certainly,
You have ravens in the trees.
yeah.
Or
it-
turkey or something, yeah.
Look at that little ladder down there.
Yeah, and again, the ladder, and actually there's a pole here. So, I mean, they're making an effort and, you know, I'm, you know, texting weekly, you know, every
Okay.
10 days,
That's all
like,
you can
okay,
do. That's
stop
all you
out there,
can do.
check, hey, what's the you know, what's the next plan to, we are on top, I am on top of it and communicating frequently with the lessee regarding getting this removed.
And I had a question about the Flowers to Empower fencing is still up. Is that supposed to be a permanent structure up there, or are they supposed to take that down?
I will look at the license agreement. I mean, it's certainly a smaller,
Right.
it's, but I will follow
Was
up.
that was something that got brought up at the meeting. The chair had questioned that. They thought
At the
that it
AgCom
was
meeting?
supposed to come down, yeah.
I will certainly look at that.
Thanks, Matt.
If we can move on to, if I
Okay,
can.
yeah, Three Island Path, somebody was trying to disassemble a boulder.
Yes, on the lake bottom,
Yeah.
when the water was drawn down 2 months ago, it certainly was much more feasible. This was included in the commission's last meeting packet as miscellaneous, and as that meeting went a little bit longer, it kind of got in the prop wash and just was never discussed. If the commission would like to take enforcement action and require remediation, I sent a letter to notifying the property owner that, you know, that is a land under water body is a jurisdictional resource under the
Did you
act.
hear anything from the person?
They've stopped and they removed, you know, the kind of, wedges for lack. And, you know, there still is a rock that, you know, a substantial portion of the rock in the water to remain, so.
I'd leave it alone. What?
As long as they do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, obviously
I
I'd
mean,
leave it
it-
alone.
he's now been
If
notified,
something-
you know.
And smaller?
Yeah, you know, and as the town manager.
picture of it, you know,
The town manager asked, she goes, you sent a cease and desist, I'm like, the letter says cease in it, but I don't,
The letter says what?
cease, to stop doing the activity, but, you know, I'm sure a cease and desist letter has specific requirements.
Yeah,
and, we notified them, they've, you know, stopped the activity, so, if the commission is.
I'd leave that alone, and
Okay.
if we hear it again, that's entirely different.
Okay, request for certificate of compliance for Westford Tennis.
So the
Seems like we can
property
hear-
owner of 4 Littleton Road requested a certificate of compliance. They've provided an as-built. They've provided more compensatory flood storage for the floodplain, which was being not filled, but the bordering land subject to flooding where the proposed infill areas were located. I stopped out last week. It is still stable. There is straw and there are seeds. There are no seeds that have germinated. I would respectfully request the commission not act on this, and if
it's been years.
if the commission so directs me to respond to the applicant and tell them to come back in 5 months.
When we can
In
see that things are
five min-
taken,
that-
yeah.
that things are
I can remember, we've had stuff
We
here.
want
about-
it, they've seeded it, we want to see vegetation growing.
Okay,
Okay,
okay. I agree.
the
so
commission's
that's tabled.
direction, I can certainly.
Okay, moving right along.
Okay, and now the minutes of our February 8th meeting.
I didn't find
They
anything.
look good to me. I move to approve them as written.
Okay, well,
Did you find something?
I
I
found
didn't find anything.
So, I found two things. One, when it was talking about the course that Matt's gonna take, and that we would fund it, I thought it would be good, just for an informational purposes, to say, what funds, what's the source of the funding? Because I think that's coming from.
Where are you?
Yeah, from the wetland receipts on, I can, on the top page here, the cost, I propose, to amend the minutes for the last sentence before the motion of the second paragraph of open forum, to say that the cost of the seminar is $349, and he requested authorization to expend that amount from the wetland fee receipts.
From the wetland.
Fee receipts. So when people file an NOI, they, portion
One
goes
of
to the
the
state,
uses-
portion
Okay.
comes to us.
Okay, so
and
you'll
we-
just be more specific.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
that's fine.
because that's one of the things that the fees go for is enabling
That's a
education.
good point. It's a
Yeah.
good point.
And my other one on page 3, under Balsam Circle, the enforcement order, that the enforcement order was going to include plantings, and I said, it would include new plantings, and I said additional new plantings. Because with the enforcement order, we're saying, not just the 2 trees, but we want more because of what was done,
Okay,
so,
okay.
okay?
Yep.
That was it.
You want a motion as amended?
To accept as amended?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that is it. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.